Hello everyone! I've received a mini arcade machine. In fact, it's a Pacman mini collector's edition arcade machine from Numbskull. So I thought we could have a little look at it. I believe normally there would be a collector's coin here, but there isn't because this is a very early kind of prototype design. Inside is the arcade cabinet itself. Look how cute it is! It's so small! It's a small arcade cabinet. It's to scale. It's a, what is it? Quarter size, I believe. Pacman arcade cabinet. Let's have a closer look, shall we? Because, you know, why not? We should do that. That's what we should do.
So, what we have here is a quarter-sized replica of the original Pacman arcade cabinet released way back in 1980. It's officially licensed from Namco, and it certainly looks the part. I played an early sample at the London Play Expo and found it a pleasing experience. So let's find out how this one fares to more scrutiny. Up top we've got the Pacman marquee. This is a perspex panel rather than an opaque board, which is important to replicate that warming, radiating glow from the artwork. Underneath that is the exact layout of the original machine, scaled down with a 5-inch TFT screen. We've even got the tiny little coin slots underneath with depressible coin release buttons. The side panels feature the original artwork, and they seem to be made in the same way the arcade cabinets are, with plywood, painted sections and vinyl coverings. It's a nice little unit with some pleasing attention to detail. Apparently that sticker will be replaced with a metal plaque on the production version, so that's nice. Measurement wise, it's 430mm tall, 210 deep and 160 wide. Apparently Numbskull are looking to release a set of different machines, so you can make up your own mini arcade to, I don't know, entertain your collection of ferrets or whatever you do. But each run is limited to 10,000 units worldwide. That's not many, so if you want one, best to get your skates on. But, of course, you want to know some more information first. Such as, how does it play? Because that's pretty important if you actually want to use this thing. Well, to start with, you can power up the cab either from micro USB with the included 1.8 meter cable, or you can run off the unit's built-in rechargeable battery, which should give you about 4 hours of playtime. It's a little big to lug around for portable use, really. I mean, you're not likely to whip this out on the underground or on the bus, are you? But I guess it's useful if you want to take it somewhere else to play. I can't really think of anywhere off the top of my head, but you might be able to. We've also got a power switch and volume control back here, so let's boot her up. Yes, memories of arcade, but where I am a giant, playing a dinky little machine. I feel so powerful. I do enjoy that backlit marquee. It's quite dim, but still adds to the arcade feel without distracting from the screen. But before we get too carried away, let's talk about ROMs. This is running the original arcade ROM through emulation. That's fine, that's what you'd expect. But is the emulation any good? To add credits, you can either press player 1 or player 2 coin return buttons. You can then choose to play in 2-player mode where you take turns, or single player. From there on out, it's Pacman. And it plays like Pacman. I'm reassured that the hiding places that John Stoodley taught me still work. You remember him, he's the Pacman record holder. Anyway, he told me that when the ghosts are in search mode, if you sit here, they will never find you. That sneaky little Pacman, look at him hiding away, just tucked in the corner there. Now this is interesting enough, but it also reassures me that this is indeed the arcade ROM, so let's continue. Controlling this little guy is pretty nice, using the tiny micro-switched joystick. You can hold it between your fingers, or just use a single finger to push it about. Either way works, and either way is quite responsive. I wouldn't say it's as responsive as the arcade machine, and I'm sure sometimes Pacman doesn't go the way I told him to, but whether that's due to emulation or the less definite feel of the small joystick, I'm not sure. 99.8% of the time it was fine, and so wasn't really an issue. If you're going to play any game on a tiny machine, then Pacman is really one of the easiest to scale down and still be playable. You haven't even got any fire buttons, just 4 simple directions. And really, it's just a small version of Pacman, which brings back about a quarter of the nostalgia, as you'd expect, given its size. Although it's definitely not a quarter of its weight, this thing is actually quite light, and whether that's a good thing for you or bad, I don't know, but it makes it easier to knock over and damage, just to warn you. A couple of issues I did have with this sample machine are that the volume control doesn't give you a smooth level increase. There's a point where it just leaps from fairly quiet to very loud. You can't turn the sound off completely either. Both these points are annoying, but Numbskull assure me that they will be resolved in production machines. I should note that when the 3-watt speaker is pumping out loud sound, it's reasonable, but there is some distortion on the lower frequencies. It doesn't quite sound right. My other issue is that due to scaling, not all of the on-screen elements look perfect. Some dots are slightly spelt over into an extra pixel compared to others. But that's something you're unlikely to avoid when scaling down to a small TFT screen, unless you have a much higher resolution. Now this may annoy perfectionists, which I can fully understand. Personally, I'm not that bothered, it looks fine for the most part. Now of course, this video wouldn't be any good without me opening this machine up. So let's do that. A couple of screws in the back and there we go. It looks how you'd expect it to, really. We've got a sticker down there indicating this is firmware version 1.3. But then we also have these loose wires with TXD, RXD and ground labels. TXD stands for transmit data, RXD is receive and ground is ground. So I presume these are test connections for this early unit. The main board has an all-winner Tech V3 chip, which is actually an ARM Cortex A7 CPU, designed originally for the digital recording world, like car cameras and security cameras. Alongside that is a WinBond memory chip, which offers something like a gigabyte of memory, which is more than enough for your average game of Pacman, I would hope. I played this little baby for about an hour and I enjoyed it. I'd probably play it again, but I think the main draw is how it looks. This thing would look tremendous lined up with a series of other machines, especially when they're all turned on, pushing their attract modes. If you've got any babies or toddlers to hand, you could even line them up in this tiny arcade and pretend huge ogres are taking over your local arcade. I think that's what Numbskull's vision is, and it's one which I can get on board with. Of course, at £150 a pop, you'll end up spending close to about £1,000 to amass a decent collection of them, presuming they release, 5 or 6. But, that may be your thing. It sounds compelling to me. It also makes a nice Christmas present, which I believe is why they're shipping in December. So I'll pop a link below if you fancy taking a look yourself. Otherwise, you could always spend that money on trips to the nearest retro arcade and play the real cabinet a few times. Decisions are tough in this day and age.
So there we go, there is the Pacman mini collectible arcade cabinet from Numbskull. Not to be confused with the Numbskulls from the Beano or Dandy, of course, because they are very different things and we don't like confusion round here.
Thanks for joining me looking at this little cabinet. I hope you got something from it. Anyway, you can click some more videos here, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or just go. I don't mind. In any case, thanks for watching. Have a great evening.